When I wrote Fearless Golf, I didn't start with a title and then write the book. I was just doing research, and the theme of fear is what kept emerging. So the book sort of titled itself. And I think most golfers would agree that being fearful, playing fearful golf is just a miserable state of affairs. And it doesn't matter how good your skills are, it doesn't matter how talented you are, it doesn't matter how much practice. If you're playing with a lot of fear, it's going to undermine all of those skills and abilities. Like fear cripples, talent, skill, and all that. So that's one end of the spectrum. Well, the other end of the spectrum is called the flow state, right? Being in the zone. So I spent 2 years doing a similar process that I did with Fearless Golf, which is essentially interviewing golfers. And so I was out on the PGA Tour traveling, 25 weeks a year. And what I would do was whenever a golfer would come off the course having shot a low round, call it a 60, 61, 62. And when you travel on tour, everyone becomes friends over time. It's like a traveling circus. Everyone knows everyone. So golfers, whether it was my guys or just guys who I was friendly with, were very gracious with their time. And I would ask them, I'd say, "Tell me what just happened. Talk to me about what just happened." And then I had a series of structured questions to try to investigate and understand what happens to golfers when they get in the zone. And what started emerging, and it was really, I think it was additive to the overall literature in flow. So there's a book called Finding Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. But I do think that the research, golf is such a great laboratory, great testing ground for so many areas of psychology for many reasons. But I do think that that book contributed to the overall understanding of flow states because it revealed we call the paradoxes of flow. So what golfers would tell me were things like, I was like, well, was the round of golf fast or slow? And they would think about it and eventually say, well, it's both. Right? It went by very quickly. Like when you're in a flow state, it's like, what just happened? It's over. But while they were in it, it felt very slow, very unrushed, right? So that's the paradox of time. Um, the paradox of awareness. So, for example, when they would be in a flow state, they would be completely unaware of what was happening around them, the noise, the crowds. Maybe they don't even know their own score. I'm thinking of like Chad Campbell when he shot a 61 at the Tour Championship one year. And I think the next lowest round was like a 69 or 70. It was like 30-mile-an-hour winds, and Chad Campbell goes and shoots a 61. And I asked him, I said, were you aware of your squares? Like, not at all. Like I was just in the present moment. What Dr. Bob Rotelli talks about, be present. Well, flow states are characterized by being present. And so, I tried to bookend golfers' experiences. What's the worst state? What's the highest state? Right. And I think there's work to be done if anyone's interested in doing it. I've been raising 3 kids, so I don't have time to get to it. But like, okay, what is the real difference between golfers when they're at their, the highest form of themselves and really sort of, but I tried to bookend golf psychology and at least put a framework for future generations to explore, what does it mean to have a really good mental game?
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. That's fascinating. And when you say the the highest experience and the lowest experience, should we should we be striving to never encounter fear? One, is that possible? Two, uh is that a worthy goal? Like, is that unrealistic or unfair?
Now that's a good question. It again, on some level, it depends because everyone's architecture is different, right? Everyone's amygdala is governed differently, and some people are just sort of born with a predisposition for to be a little more high arousal and a little more jumpy, and other people are born. Have you seen the documentary? I forget who that mountain climber. There's a rock climber who it's free,
Yes. Alex
free some.
Honnold?
Yeah, it's got this great documentary. He doesn't feel fear. So here he is, with no ropes tied to him, climbing up mountains where any mistake is certain death. But I think they did brain scans of his brain, and like the architecture of his brain is such that he just doesn't feel the physiology of fear the way that we feel it, or most normal people feel it. So, you know, the simple answer is contextually it depends. But the other way to think about it is, for most golfers, the answer is no. You're going to feel fear at some point, and there's all sorts of reasons for that. Number one, we're wired for fear. And most people are wired for fear. Now, why is that? Well, if you understand natural selection and evolution and sort of the origin and how we've come to the modern day human brain, in the last, call it, 300,000 years of modern humans, the brain did not evolve for you to be a golfer, right? It's not like there was some master plan, say, natural selection, we're going to move in a direction where we're going to have this feature of a human being, the brain, that's going to make them a great golfer. And so the human brain, by all inferences in evolutionary psychology, is designed to keep you alive long enough so you could pass on your genes. And the best vehicle for keeping you alive is learning, right? So the brain is an instrument designed to just learn. How does the brain learn? From experiences. Okay. And so through sort of evolution, the bias is that if you go back, 100,000, not even 100,000 years, you can go back, a few hundred years. If you're in a dangerous situation, your brain has to learn, hey, this was dangerous. Like, don't do that again, because it's trying to keep you alive. So the brain over indexes toward danger. And that's why fear is such a powerful driver, because if something painful or dangerous happens, the brain is essentially saying, hey, you better remember this. This is really important. This is life threatening. And that's sort of why actually something like PTSD is so impossible to shake, because it not only lives in the brain, it lives in the body at not only a psychological level, but a physiological and a physical level. So what happens is the brain has been designed to over index to keep you alive. Translation, we overreact to threatening situations. And the way we overreact is fear, because again, the brain's primary motivation is to keep you alive. So how does that play out for a golfer? It interacts with, so believe it or not, the primary experience in the human condition that leads people to be afraid is social judgment. It's being judged by others. Now, why is that? Well, going back to evolutionary psychology, to be a bit of a lone wolf or a loner, as opposed to part of a tribe or a community. If you're part of a tribe or a community, there was safety in numbers. To be ostracized and to be alone meant just danger, right? So we evolved to be accepted, to want to belong to a community for safety. So what happens naturally is human beings care what other people think of them, because we're wired to care what people think of us. Now put that setup. The brain is an instrument that is designed to keep you alive. And a primary vehicle of safety is acceptance by other people. And now fast forward and put someone on a golf course with that setup. In a game where you're going to make mistakes in front of other people,
Mm,
right? And
yeah.
all of a sudden, what you come to find is the primary driver of fear is not the threat of physical harm like in boxing or MMA, or it's the fact that we are going to be judged by other people, right? So then what you see happen is, since we don't want that feeling, is by and large, most people play golf not because they love golf, or not because they're trying to be better at their craft, or it's they want to sort of impress people or show off or demonstrate their competence to other people. Now they wouldn't say that to you, but if you really talk to them and it's like, why are you nervous? Well, I don't want to hit a bad shot. Why don't you want to hit a bad shot? And you start to unpackage that. It's, well, because I'm going to look like a fool in front of other people. So yeah.
Yeah. Man, wow. The the root cause of not wanting to look like a fool, not wanting to embarrass yourself, wanting to be accepted by other people, is that, I would assume naturally that's why we feel more of these feelings, nervousness, anxiety, fear, the more people we're being watched by. Is that why that happens,
Well,
you think?
well, it's not only the number of people; it's who's watching, right? It's who it is, and if it's somebody whose opinion you care about, is really the indicator. Jack Nicklaus has this great story that, he was never nervous playing golf. And then Bobby Jones came and watched him play once. And when he knew that Bobby Jones was in the outside the ropes, Jack hit a high block right over Bobby Jones's head out of bounds, right? Because that's Bobby Jones, is a childhood hero. And I think everyone has a version of that, right? It's like if you're playing with people and you don't really, they're perceived as just friendly, they're like, you don't feel nervous. But once someone, whether it's a boss at work, you get to the PJ Tour and you're paired with Rory, or you're paired with Tiger, or you're paired with somebody, who you've seen on TV. This happens to rookies on tour all the time. It's just like, oh my God, that's Brooks Koepka, that's Bryson DeChambeau. I mean, these are role models and heroes. So what I always say to rookies is, when you show up on tour, two things you have to think about. I say, number one, day one, like stare at your feet and don't look up till the end of the year. Just don't look around. Just literally, and get lost in the process of playing the golf course. Not the other players, not the leaderboard, not the money list, not the FedEx. Get lost in the process of playing a golf course one shot at a time. So that, the more, and that's why, it's a bit cliche in golf, process, 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 routine, routine, routine. But people, fail to ask, why is that so important? Why are psychologists talking about and coaches talking about the value of having a good routine? Well, because a routine immerses you in the process of playing golf course. Whereas, and it gets you out of sort of the variability of the audience and being judged by others. Yeah.
All right, everyone, thanks for listening to this episode of the Mental Golf Show. Go check out Dr. Valiante's books, Fearless Golf and Golf Flow. I'm only a portion of the way into Fearless Golf because I was prepping to talk to Dr. Valiante, and also I'm a painfully slow reader, so I didn't get to get very deep into it. But based on what I have read and this conversation with him and just his impact in the golf industry, I can wholeheartedly recommend those two books. So I think it would help your golf game, and it would help you learn more about yourself, your why you do the things that you do, why we as humans do the things that we do. So it would encourage that curiosity mastery mentality for you to read these books and kind of learn more about your tendencies, our tendencies. And I think it would help your golf game get better. And also, if you want a free resource, I do something called the mental game assessment. It's a questionnaire, takes 10 to 15 minutes. You fill it out, and I will hand send you a report, and you'll get to see your mental game strengths and your greatest areas of improvement with your mental game. And it'll all be on a nice, clean report. And it's free. I use this with my players, with my one-on-one clients, golf coaching, mental coaching clients. So I highly value this resource, but it's free. So you can go to joshnicholsgolf.com/assessment to go check out the free mental game assessment. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Mental Golf Show. I'm Josh Nichols. Get out there, stay curious, stay in that mastery orientation, and I'll catch you guys next time.